or how we're going to be starting out. We're going to learn a little more about how like we can use Trello to help us kind of organize, our work. Now, definitely once you work on like a big project with a big team, it's not necessarily you're going to be using Trello, but you're going to be using some sort of like product management tool like Trello or Jira. This Trello is an example of a Kanban board. Has anyone used a Kanban board or knows what that is? This essentially is a Kanban board. It's what we have here is we have a couple different lists. And then on our lists, we can add cards. So I could do like, this could, it's almost like a to-do list type thing. So I could say like, shower for my morning routine, eat breakfast. Like I could kind of like say all the things I need to do to kind of get ready in the morning. Okay. And then, I could like order these, like, oh, the next thing I should do is maybe shower and eat breakfast, and sometime I'll get coffee. So these are like, I can use this list as a way to kind of keep track of what I'm doing. So, it could be in progress to shower, then that would be done. And then I could eat breakfast. And after I eat breakfast, I'll get some coffee. And it's just a way you can kind of move these tasks you're doing and kind of see where it's at. So what we're going to do is, instead of like getting ready, for the day, this would be like, maybe like create, a form. These are going to be like your coding tasks. So this is what we're going to do today. But before we do that, before we start kind of deciding what our tasks are, we need to determine what we're going to be building. So that's what we're going to do first. We need to come up with a little idea. And okay, that one. So I thought we could, I can maybe allow you to come up with an idea, but I have these requirements for this lecture. So we want to have one has many association. And then we're also gonna want one separate but related to app model. If that one separate model, I should maybe say this like another separate model, but it's still related to the app. So we're going to come up with an app idea. We're going to want this third model that it doesn't have to be associated with either of those two models, but it has to be like associated with an app. So if we had like I don't know, like a restaurant app, we could maybe have like a restaurant has many dishes, and then we have like a third model that is like I don't know, like what's something to do with the restaurant.
A wine list.
Yeah, wine list. We have all the wines from all the restaurants. I'm not trying to make this like hard. It's just because this is essentially kind of what the setup you're going to have for your hackathon. We're going to give you're going to have to do a has many, and then we'll give you another separate model. We might even give you like another like bonus as a bonus if you do another model. We're going to do an about page, and we're going to do a home page. I would say some like bonus type stuff that we can do if we have time. And not, so I'm going to bring up these terms. This is like, you'll hear the term MVP. That stands for minimal viable product. Because when you're designing out an app, you're definitely gonna see this with like your portfolio project at the end. You're gonna be like, oh, here's all the things we're gonna want to do, and you get this huge list. And you there's a tendency to kind of over plan what you think you can do. So what we can do is we can break features up into like MVP, like minimal viable products. And you can think of these as like, must haves. Like these are things we have to have. Then you can create like a separate list of like, bonus or like, nice to have. Like these are not required, but they'd be nice to have. So in the hackathon, these nice to have, these are going to be bonuses, or they're going to be worth like less points. So these are like going to be the things where you're going to want to do your work. So some bonuses might be like error handling, both front end, back end. And this is more like the error handling, like validations type. That's kind of what I'm talking about with that. Styling. And let's do this. Let's say UI, UX. Does everyone know the difference between the user interface and the user experience?
It's a user experience more like how it's structured, like intuitively designed type, like how you input information, how you navigate to stuff, and then UI would be more like just what it looks like. But
Yeah. UX is like the navigation, how it flows together, your pages, your links, where stuff is. UI is like your color, your fonts, border radius, that kind of thing. I think there's like a UI UX ketchup image. This one, I think, like kind of, picture's worth 1,000 words. I think this one kind of does a good job. Like here's UI. You have like a nice little fancy ketchup bottle, but then the UX is like, oh, let's have this ketchup bottle be, easy to squeeze. It's pointed down by default, so all the ketchup goes to the bottom. So it might not look as pretty, but it's a lot easier to use. So I think that's kind of a good little visual about the difference between those two. Man, my stupid Zoom thing getting in the way. Okay. Okay, so these are some other bonuses, UI, UX. Like, yes, styling is, you can do a lot with styling. So you can take a lot of time with that. We will look at things that like, like use of tools. That will be, like Trello. Did you use Trello? Did you use Figma? And Lucidchart. Like I said, these are bonuses, so all these kind of things. There might be like an extra model that you can add. You can do things like, and this would probably be included in the UX, but like things like loaders. spinners, like loaders. When things are loading, you have a UI to kind of show that they're loading. Can maybe, we haven't done that, but we can maybe talk about that. This one's kind of like a big one. As far as a bonus, I think like a seeds RB, like you don't have to have a seeds. I think you can have a seeds.rb file, but really what I think the takeaway here is like, you know, realistic looking data. It's really hard, like, it's because you're going to be presenting these to, you know, because we're going to be part-time and full-time, we'll be doing the hackathon together. So it's nice when you demo your app that your app has realistic looking data. Like once again, if we had like a restaurant app that had like a restaurant had many dishes, like your dishes would be called like spaghetti tacos, not like ASDF, QQQ, WWW, like just ones you've typed in really quick. But it actually has like, it's obviously can be hard coded dummy data, but as long it should kind of match what it is. I think that goes a long way in making your app look a lot nicer. Can anyone think of some bonuses or things that, I mean, you can think of? I would say this, like a clean Git log, you know, frequent commits.
What about like styling?
Yes, styling. I'll throw this. Styling would be part of UI. Yeah, and tech, like yeah, styling would be UI. I know I threw it here, but spinners and loaders, those are kind of almost more UX because it's showing you like something's loading, so it's a better user experience. But yeah, styling. Anything else you can think of? I mean, I'm going to throw in more, but
How readable is your code?
code readability. That's a good one.
Just
There's
like not repeating yourself in code a lot.
Yeah, and that would be called dry code. Dry stands for not repeat yourself. That might be hard, like the code readability and the dry, I'll be honest, that's probably going to be hard for us to, like the TAs and myself to grade, but I think those are definitely things I think that are going to help you. Cool. I think this is good for now. We can always add more as we go on. I'll throw this one. I think it's always good, you know, a third party library. Use like try to use these third, like I'm going to throw this in here too. The must-have React router. I mean, React router, that's a third-party library. Like, but things you can do to like really, you know, make your app nice is go out, find your own third-party libraries, and you know, see how you could utilize it to make your app better. And there's tons of them. You know, charting libraries. You know, UI libraries. There's UI component libraries we'll talk about. That one I might hold off on for this hackathon. I'm kind of undecided about that. There's form. hand like validation ones. Remember how like big of a pain like working with forms is? Like that's probably something you'd want to like, you might get some help if you use the library. So, but those are kind of like discover on your own, see what one works. We'll definitely talk more about these in the coming weeks, but cool. So does anyone have an idea? So here's kind of like the requirements. Does anyone have like an idea for an app? If we don't, I have like the one like I have is we could do a vaccine app where we have like a bug and the bug has many vaccines. And then we could do like a third model of like hospitals. But if someone has something else.
What do you mean by a bug has many vaccines? Like an insect or like some kind of what? I just don't know what you mean.
I mean like virus or like a virus or a bacteria. I don't know if bacterias have vaccines, but I don't want to do virus because I think virus gets a little I've tried doing a virus before and it has like this weird there's like Rails doesn't know how to pluralize it, so you get into weird issues with like it's like it tries to make, because virus is, I don't know, it pluralizes it wrong because then it calls it viruses.
Okay.
So I'm being lazy and calling it bug. So should we do that? Cool. So those are going to be our requirements. So we kind of want to start planning to build this out. Now, I think there's, you know, when you have some time and maybe you're building something out a little bigger, like even if it's just a day, like a hackathon, I think there's really, there's definitely two big things that I think really are going to help you get started. And in there, like, if you're building a huge project, these are like 100% necessary. So first of all, we do need, I think, like the requirements. We need to kind of just, even if it's super simple like this, you know, and like maybe we have like a little description that is like, you know, an app that, you know, does, or an app that has, you know, bugs, viruses, that, you know, list all the vaccines for that bug and shows, you know, hospitals. I could even say like maybe a list of doctors too. That's like our bonus model. Hospitals. Let me say like do CRUD actions on this. And then maybe, you know, we have like a home page with links to all sections of our app. And, you know, an about page about like, I don't know, the company /devs. So we just have, I'm trying to like just really be brief with this, because what we need to kind of start building this out, we need the requirements. But I think once we have the requirements, then we're going to do two other things. The first thing is like build out a wireframe. And this is where we're going to use Figma. And then the other thing is, build out our DB, our database. That could be Lucidchart. Now with these, building out a wireframe, I'm just going to leave a note. This could totally be done, just with, pencil and paper. Same thing with the database. I think when it's this simple, like when it's a simple app like this, if you just want to quickly sketch it up on a piece of paper and pencil, I think that'd be fine. I'm going to use Figma because then I can like share my screen and everyone can use it. So Figma might be a better tool for you to use, so everyone can see it. Does everyone know what a wireframe is? Has anyone not heard that term?
I haven't.
Cool. Or Figma. So let's just go to Figma and kind of look at what I'm talking about. So I'm going to log in. It's funny, it's on my teleperformance one. Cool. So what you might get, let's say you're working, I can show you an example, an actual example that I used. This is like a lot more than a wireframe, but we can look at this example. So when I worked at Teleperformance, they wanted me to make a mobile app. They had most of this done before I even started coding it. But as I started coding on it, they were adding stuff. But essentially, this is like a fully complete wireframe where it is showing you exactly what they want the app to look like. And there's also, even with this, you kind of get like a little bit of the UX, like how should this app flow? Like when someone like first installs the app, they should be able to choose a language. And then from there, they should see, like apps have like the features of the app. They get like a little, here are the features of this app. Then there's a crazy login step where you needed to log in with your Teleperformance credentials. Then you wanted to create a passcode. Like if it doesn't match, here's like what the error and success should look like. Go create a pin. It was kind of an obnoxious login. But then once you finally log in, here's your home screen where you can see your schedule for the next couple days. You can look at like news and events about the company. You can look at a more detailed schedule view that would like scroll and show you like what days you're working that week. There was like opportunities, like, here's new positions that are open with like a job description. There's some social stuff, you could like look your attendance, you could call off. But this is essentially what I mean by this is more than a wireframe, because this has all the colors. It has how everything should work. But what you kind of see how this is telling me visually how this app should be built. And then once I had this, it's like, okay, now I know exactly what I need to do. Or, it's a start. I at least know what pages I need to build. Now, when I say like the term wireframe, I think where this goes above like the term wireframe is this is like when they built this out, they wanted it to look exactly like this. They wanted the font sizes to match. They wanted the border radius to match. They wanted the like color fade to match. So they wanted it to look exactly like that. When we're talking about a wireframe, we can just be thinking about how we want it to behave. We don't have to worry about the colors or how it looks. We can do something like really primitive. But even that primitive wireframe is going to, help us out quite a bit. And then since you're working with a team, it's really going to help you decide what to do, you know, with your, it's going to put you and your team all on the same page. If we're doing the vaccine app, I think I actually have a wireframe for this. Do I? No, let's see here. We can draw one out though, but if I have one. This is what I mean by like a wire, like the you know, it doesn't have to look nice. If let me look for one more. If I can't find it, then we'll just build out our own. Okay. Let's just go ahead and build out our own. And this, because this kind of has like the basic of what we want to do. So, but this is the way I can kind of visualize the requirements, and I can start planning out the pages I'm going to need. So for example, I said we wanted a home page and, you know, that had links. So maybe I want a link to bugs, and I want a link to, you know, the about, or sorry, bugs, and we had hospitals, and then about. So there's my home page. Now it's not, it doesn't need to look, it can, this is just kind of like generally what it's going to look like. And then I can be like, oh, you know, here is my bugs page. And I can come here and like, start building this out. This is why, like, I think it's definitely, especially if you don't know Figma, you know, this is why like just doing this on a piece of paper works. But, and like I said, I'm not trying to get this to look nice. I'm just like, okay, I have a bugs page, which goes and lists all my new bugs. And then maybe here, you know, this is a bug show page. And then this is where you and your group can get together and be like, well, how do we want to do our new bug? And we can decide that right now. Do we want to put the form here, or do we want to do a new form? Do we want to have a modal? Like this is where it's, you can start making those decisions, because it's a lot easier to draw this than it is to code it. Does anyone have a preference? I guess I have, this was the bug one. It should be the vaccine. Kind of see how I'm like just thinking about like, okay, well, if I click a bug, then now I should go see all the vaccines for that bug. Here's what I think we should do, because then we can, since we have to do CRUD actions on both bugs and vaccines, I think for our bug, you know, what we can do is we can do a new bug button that takes us to a, you know, bug new. And then we can also have a, change the color on this. Then we can have like an edit bug button. And that will take us to a edit bug form. But then on our vaccines, let's just leave a note here. And like I said, this doesn't have, it's just more like I'm trying to come up with a plan. Has many, and I'm also going to say like, do all CRUD on this page. So for our bug, we'll use React Router to, have a new bug form, have an edit bug form to do our CRUD actions. But on our vaccine page, we'll do all the CRUD actions on this one page. Cool, and then yeah, I could like copy this page. Why is that not copying all of it? Then yeah, we're gonna have like a hospitals page. But does this, like I said, we maybe spent like 10 minutes doing this, but the important thing, and especially with like, working with a team, is like, now our team can kind of be on the same page about what we're doing. Okay, so we have a home page that has these links. Then we're going to have a bugs page, and then our bugs page, we're going to have these buttons that are going to take us to new forms on new pages to do the CRUD actions. But on the vaccines page, we're going to do all the CRUD actions on this single page. And then you could like even go in more detail and be like, okay, well, let's, because of that, let's have this be like the vaccine new form right here. Then I can even note here, like, also edit form. Now, when it comes to the hackathon, we don't care how you're going to do your CRUD actions. You're going to be able to choose, which ones to do, or I might give you a wireframe and be like, okay, here's kind of the flow you have to use. Now, I know this is messy, but does this help, like, at least visualize what we want to do? Or is this like, what are you talking about, James?
Yeah, it does. It's like putting things on a dry board, like 3x5 cards, and I want to do this and then this and this.
Yeah. And that's why I always recommend you should have paper and a pen always by your desk. These are a lot easier to do, wireframes, especially. I used to be decent with Figma. I don't ever use it that much anymore, so I'm like forgetting all the commands. But I think even when you're doing your homework, just draw out and spend 5-10 minutes, just draw out some wireframes, how you want it to look. Maybe with hospitals, just for fun, maybe we'll try doing like a modal For you, if you don't know what a modal is like you click something and you get like that like screen that just kind of pops up. It's not quite like the alert, but it's kind of like the alert, but it's like will be the whole screen. It'll be like a form. See if we can maybe like that might be a bonus. That's another nice thing you can do is like modal would be nice, but let's maybe realize we might be biting off more than we can chew. Cool. So there we go. I don't want to spend too much time on this wireframe, but yeah, hopefully and let me just throw this. Here's another nice thing with what we can do now with Trello, build out our wireframe. I'm going to put that link right here. How do I do this? Okay, so now, and this is like now this Trello board is kind of becoming like this where everything's kind of organized. So I have my wireframe here, and then I have a link to it. So it's easier to find, not to go like searching through Figma. I have that direct link. And I could now like throw that in the done column. I kind of like skip these. These become bigger like if you're working on a multiple day project. So, but yeah, I can now say, well, let's now build out our database. So this is the second thing that you're going to want to do before you start coding is to build out your database diagram. Because think about it, if you know what it's supposed to look like and you know how your database is structured, and you have the requirements, I mean, you're really describing what you have to do. And it's kind of like if you can't do either of those, you're not going to be able to build out your app. If you can't like show on either Figma or a piece of paper how you want your app to look, or you can't tell me what your database is going to look like, good luck trying to build out your app in code. So let's go to Lucidchart. And like I said, this is definitely something you could also do just on a piece of paper. But I'm going to do this on Lucidchart just so I can share my screen and we can see this. I'm not logged in. Let's see which one I want to. I'm just going to open. I don't know. It doesn't even matter which one, but so it is on a new page. This one might be too big. This works. We can just use this one. Okay, so here's what I mean by designing our database. So we're gonna have a bugs table. For now, bug could just have a name. What else would a bug have?
Apparently a variant.
That would almost be a has many, like a bug has many variants. We could do that. That could be our app, but I guess we build it out to already say vaccines. But does that make sense why I can't put the variant column inside of here? Why is this not the way to do that? I think this is a good little.
I guess I was.
Oh,
You
you
almost want to do like a bug with multiple variants, and then each variant has certain vaccines that work for it. So you'd almost have like has many. nested.
Yeah, like a bug would have many. That would. I think if we did it that way, a bug would have many variants. A variance would have many vaccines. I think we'd start getting into like a has many through, like the many to many. So the reason why I wouldn't want to do it this way though, and like why I would want to do the has many is because I'm going to be saying like, I mean, for instance, COVID. I could have COVID here, and then COVID could have like, you know, the alpha variant. Or like if I'm looking at my actual, when I actually start creating these, oh my gosh, that's huge. Like when I actually go to create these in the database, I would say like COVID, you know, has the alpha variant, you know, and then COVID has the beta variant, you know, and COVID has the, like there's hundreds of variants, you know, or more. I don't really know, but the problem with trying to put these in the same table is I'm going to be duplicating COVID a lot. That's why I'd want to do a has many, probably like COVID has many, or a bug has many variants. And then COVID would only be in here once. And then the variants could be in here. Like I'd have the ID of COVID. And then the type would be alpha, beta, and delta. But yeah, we won't do that because that's a little more complicated. So for now, let's
What if
just,
we did like symptoms or something then? Or like, well, I was trying to think of like, you know, COVID is like a respiratory disease.
yeah, we could do like a, because yeah,
Classification or something.
Yeah, something like that.
symptom, yeah, because something like symptoms, that would also be like a has many.
Yeah, no, that's why I changed it.
Yeah, a class, a type.
Found this out the other day. Type's a reserved word. You can't use it.
Yeah, type or class. I can't use class. I can't use type either, huh?
Definitely not.
Definitely not.
Class type.
I had this issue.
Bug type. Let's just keep it simple. Leave it at name. Boom. Cool. Vaccine. So a vaccine is going to have a name. Let's think about what could we have with a vaccine. Once again, don't worry about like so if we think about like COVID would have like a Pfizer vaccine, a Moderna vaccine. But those have like, I don't know what's the word, is it efficacy? What's the word to describe how well it works?
I think it's efficacy.
Yeah.
Efficacy. That could be a, you know, float there. Does a bug have like, can we do like a category? Is that like a, there's got to be something, but I think for now, this is good. We could definitely add stuff later.
If you really want something, you could just do like description, and then in description, you could just do like respiratory illness or something.
Love it. There we go. I'm getting these reversed. Okay, string. And let's do description. Cool. And then, yeah, for the vaccines, we're going to have a primary key, which is going to be the bug underscore ID. That's going to be a foreign key, sorry. There we go. And see, even with just these tables, now we can start to, we can Now we could even here just like what command would we run in Rails? That's Rails G model bug. Name, description. This would be Rails G model vaccine. String name efficacy, which would be a float, and then a bug belongs to. And then we have this third unrelated table, but it's not like associated, but it's in our app. Hospital. And whatever, I'm just going to give that a name. I'm just going to leave it at, well, let's do like a address. Let's do a city. Let's give it a city and state. I keep on putting these in the wrong spot. City, state. String. Hospitals. That's going to be the name of our table. It's going to be the hospitals table. So yeah, if I wanted, this would be a Rails G model hospital. Is that, dude, hospital is not looking like a word. Name, city.
The T should be an S.
The T, is it hot? Wait, the T should be an S.
Maybe just get rid of the T. I can't
Just get rid of the first T.
get rid of the first T. Yeah.
Oh, there, okay, hospital. Okay, that looks better. That hospital, it's not a hospital. Okay. So there's our Lucidchart. Now, like I said, our app's pretty simple right now, but I'm sure it doesn't, I think even as it being this simple, I think this diagram, in my mind, this really helps explain, the database very clearly. And now this way, either if you do it on a piece of paper or you use something like Lucidchart, this is just a way now your team can get on the same page. Since I think this is a big part, big part of it is just you understanding about it, but another big part is getting everyone on the team to understand. So something like Lucidchart and something like Figma, these are great tools to be like, okay, hey, this is what we're building. Here's how it's going to be structured. And then I can take this link and throw it out here. So what I'm doing, like with this semi brackets and the parentheses, this is just markdown. If you want to, I want to expect you to memorize it. Markdown's really simple. There's not so much you can do with it. So there is in here, you can Google it or you can look right here. There's some formatting help. If you want to format this, it will give you some examples of how to do bold paragraphs, headers, images, links, that kind of thing. There's a full-on complete syntax here. So Markdown's not that complicated just because there's not that much you can do with it. And then you can always, you don't have to memorize this. You can just kind of Google it. Sweet. So now that's done. But since we're using Trello, Trello's nice because now, and I'm kind of keeping track of how everything is linked. Now this Trello board, this is really becoming like the place to go to if I want to find anything. Because even though we're done with our wireframe and our database, I still might want to like, go look at those. So now I can, Trello is going to be a way to kind of organize some of this stuff. Cool. But now with those two things, I think even though like, they're not super pretty, I really think we have a pretty good idea of like, we can now start to build this out, right? And also at this point too, like if I had a team of 4 people, now you might not want to do this for the hackathon, but if I did have a big group of people, I could, say, hey, someone go build out the models. Someone go start to build out this home page. Someone go start to build out this bug page. Because you know what else we could start to do as well without even writing any code? This would kind of be a little bit of a bonus, but we could start like defining our API or like planning API. So let's add this. So I could do things like this. Hey man, let's just as a team, let's just kind of start defining this. So if we do a get API /bugs, this will return an array of our bugs, and our bugs have like a name. They're going to have an ID 1. Or I don't even need to like throw a value. They're going to have an ID, a name, and a description, right? So even though it's not done or we haven't even started coding, we can start saying, hey, this is how we're going to define our API. If you do a GET request to API bugs, we're going to return an array of bugs. Then I can start like doing this API bugs 1 or ID. Return a bug. That should look like this. It's going to be an object that has ID, name, and description. Now, if you do a post, if you do a post to API bugs, and I'll say this like need to send, a bug. And we'll return the bug. Now, if we had time, this is where I'm doing this in Trello, but like another thing you could use is that we're not going to do this. This would take kind of a little longer to set up, but the point I want to get across is, so before writing any code, you could come in here and you could kind of describe what your API is going to do. right? And then you could have this, like we could have done this with Swagger, you know, without even building out any of our code. We could go out and build out our API definition and like how it's going to work. And that's kind of what I'm trying to do here. It's a little hard to make this look clean, but and you know, let's just like go through maybe one of like that has many. If I do a get request to API bugs, you know, bug ID vaccines, return array of vaccines belonging to debug. And then our vaccines, those are going to have an ID, a bug ID, you know, a name, and efficacy. See if I can like do some formatting on this so it looks nice. I'm not gonna write all of these out. Can we, because I could also just say right here, you know, standard CRUD actions, i.e. this stuff. So why this is going to be important is because like if, and I think, you know, if just for the hackathon, you just do the standard CRUD actions. Well, now the backend people, like now you can have backend people go build out the backend. And your front end people could right at the same time go start building out the front end.
How would people on the front end be building the front end out if they didn't have routes to like work with?
Yeah, so the routes aren't going to be working, but you're going to have the routes, right? This is partly what I'm trying to say. It's not going to be working, but I know on the front end, eventually it will be working. And if I do a get request to API bugs, I'm going to get back in an array of bugs that look like this, that have an ID, name, and description. So
I kind of see what you're saying. So could you test that then with Postman?
So the backend person would use Postman, and we'll do this example. We'll kind of go through this today, and I'll kind of show how really these can happen in parallel. The development can happen in parallel. So the backend person would use Postman. The front end person might have to use some like dummy data. Like they might have to go into their JavaScript file and go hard code a dummy array of bugs, because they're not going to get it, because like you said, the backend's not working. It's not set up. But I'm going to show you that you can essentially do all of the front end code. You can test the front end. And then once your back end is working, it's like not that much work to hook it up. That was something that like when I went to Teleperformance, I was like you need to build out this. It happened with that mobile app. They're like, you need to build that out. I'm like, well, I don't have a database. They're like, well, it shouldn't matter. I was like, what? And then they kind of explained this to me, and I was like, oh yeah, okay, I get what you're saying. But sometimes I didn't even have this. I'm like, well, what's the API call going to look like to get bugs? They're like, I don't know. Well, then it's like, well, how do you want me to do that? But since we like as a team before we're agreeing on these routes, they don't need to be done. But like we can just as a team agree, hey, like if we do a GET request to API bugs, we're going to return an array of bugs. That's going to look like this. Like, and yeah, I'm not going to write all the, like, there's going to be, 6 paths for each model. So really there's going to be 18, but I think for now, since we're using the standard CRUD actions, I don't have to write these all out. Cool. So yeah, now I could, say that's kind of done. But really, yeah, now, and what we'll do, like, I'll also say, like, there's one more task, we'll take a break, but set up Rails app. Now this, you might probably, there's going to be like the initial setup of your Rails, React app. I would say that's something you'd probably want to do like as a group. So this is, we can do this next. We can do our initial setup Rails React app, and then also maybe like set up GitHub. So I think those, let's take a break, but these can kind of be our next step. We're just going to do the initial setup, and then we'll create our GitHub, and then from maybe there we can start separating tasks. But let's take a break. Let's come back at 10:50. Okay. Yeah, fast.
I guess in reference to one of my earlier questions, James, when I asked you like what resources would we have available, I'm not sure. It's kind of like a, I guess, a slope where, you know, what's the appropriateness of like using code that you already know versus using code to like look at versus copying. It's kind of like, that's what I'm not sure. Like obviously I wouldn't take like an entire Rails app that I've already built and then build off of that. So where's like the lines on how you can use past projects or like other people's work to kind of see how you should throw your work or design your work?
Yeah, and that's a really good, just general question.
Because
Yeah,
as of right now, you know, I'm using your lectures and I'm using a lot of your work to kind of like guide how I'm doing it. So how much should I build from the ground up versus kind of get guidance or copy?
cool. Yeah. So, because we're talking about Trello right now, and I'm like with Trello, I have some cards that are cards I wrote that kind of explain to me how to do things. With Trello in particular, I'm saying you can use like these cards as references, but I don't necessarily like test some of these cards. And I really think Trello, when I'm saying you can use Trello on like the hackathon and it's an open book test, I really think the benefit comes from you creating the cards yourself. I don't know how much help you're going to get if you just copy and paste this.
So I'm also talking about like real code in general though, because if you asked me right now to build out the entire Rails router without looking at any code we've done in the past for reference, I'd probably struggle quite a bit with that. But at the same time, I'm not trying to outright copy, you know, entire pages that were written previously.
Yeah, so with that, it's and I think that's fine. I would not expect most like you to like build out a controller from memory, or build out your routes from memory. The things that I think are like that, you know, I would say to put your focus on, it's like, you know, if you're building out, like, let's say you want to do like, you want to create your own custom routes and you have like the CRUD action table Rails. Like what I would maybe want to see, where is it? Where's the images? Like is maybe, so let's say we're doing like bugs and we're trying to do like the standard CRUD actions for bugs. But maybe if you could look at like an example, which was using rides. And this can kind of like, this becomes a little bit of a cheat sheet, like, oh yeah, get to rides, show all rides. What CRUD action is that? That's read. So what I need to do for bugs is I do a get to bugs, and that should show all bugs. So that's kind of like, you know, if you can write, I think if you can write your Trello cards or write whatever cheat sheet you're using, if you can write it in a generic way, and then you do have to go back and look at it. But if you can write it in kind of a generic way where it kind of, you can use that for other things, then I think that's a good place to be. Like for instance, I have like this basic CRUD on React. And I have like, you know, here's what the object looks like. So it's things like, you know, this example is like users. So do you understand this enough to make that work with, you know, the bugs?
Okay, so that did kind of answer my question, because I was looking at this and I was thinking, if this wasn't like an open book test, I probably would struggle to fully build out an app. But I wouldn't necessarily want to just go onto a Trello, copy and paste this, and then just change everything from users to bugs.
Yeah, because that also might get you into issues too, because we might, it could maybe it's not going to look the same, but it's maybe what you can do is like when you build these out, maybe you're adding notes about what's actually going on. So for example, like I have this note here, like, the empty array will make this only run when component mounts. And then I have like another note, Axios call to get users with error handling. So this is where like you can use like the comments and go through kind of line by line and tell yourself exactly what's happening. So then when you do need to kind of customize it and switch things up, you're like, okay, well, I need to get some data on mount. So that's what use effect does. And the empty array only makes that happen when the component mounts. We're going to see like use effect actually, when we talk more about use effect can get called anytime state changes. But if we put this empty array here, then it only runs when we mount. But that's the kind of thing that, you can set these notes that are descriptive to you. So and I think that the process of going through and creating these cards and using that as the opportunity to be like, instead of just copy and pasting code, it's an opportunity for you to be like, okay, what the hell is actually going on here? That's why like, I think Trello is a good thing, and I've said this before, it's like one of my greatest things I liked as a student was when teachers let me do like you have a piece of paper and you can throw whatever you want on there. Because that was a way for me to go back through all the notes, like go restudy. And then I was like writing down in my own words, like I was explaining it to myself. And, and then I would have it for the test if I forgot it. But like by just going through and having to describe it to myself in a way I understood, that was really useful. But yeah, if you're just getting to the point where you're copy and pasting stuff, then I think that's going to be detrimental to you. But I copy and paste code all the time, like everyone does. But just as you're trying to understand something like what's going on with it, does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does.
Because something like I kind of want to show with this. So I have this one, like I have the Spring 21 cheat sheet. I have another Trello. I have a couple Trello boards. I'm working on, just the one that's really for this project. What I can do with, so you could have a Trello board that maybe goes through, and the lists are maybe more related to topics. So I could have a React, a Git, Rails, a hackathon. For instance, I have like this basic Git flow card, that maybe goes through some of the basic Git commands that you might want to do, or like when you're coding. And something that's nice about Trello is I can go to the card and I can hit copy, and I can actually I can make a copy of it, but I can move it to a different board. So I can copy it to a different board. So I could copy it to what I'm calling the pre-hackathon lecture. So I could create that card. And now if I go here, there it is. So a column you could maybe have on your Trello board is just like tutorials, resources, cheat sheets. You might have like a links. section that, you know, maybe like, maybe you find a good article on map reduce each. JavaScript. So you find an article you like, you know, that's useful for you. And then you can, you know, start keeping track of these. So you can have this one column that is really just kind of some resources for you. And one of these we could throw in like, you know, 50 links inside of here. Or you could have other Trello cards that then you can then copy and paste in here. Because one of the ones I have is this, you know, create a new app with Rails and React. That goes through the basic steps. Now, I think this is one, this would be an example of, I think this is a good card because this is generic. It's not going to show you how to build this app we're doing now, but because it's not going to have the specific names, but it's going to give you the general overview of how to set it up. Now, if you spent all the time personally writing this, then I would say that's fine to use that. And the important part is, I mean, I have the worst memory for sure. So and I think code is not so much about memory. It's really understanding what these commands are doing. If you might forget what order to run them in, or you might forget to run one, but if you can have this cheat sheet that kind of, you know, refreshes your memory and you get what's happening, that's where it's fine to like Google stuff to have these resources. So this is what we want to do next, is like this initial setup, Rails and React. And now I have this Trello card that I made earlier. Now I can use this as like a resource. Cool. So yeah, I can, you know, this is a basic setup, and we'll have the Rails server run on port 3001 and the React server run on 3000. So here's the command, Rails new app name here. Now, obviously, I'm not going to say app name here. That's where I put the actual name of the app that I want to call it. So let's go ahead and do that. Rails new. Let's call this vaccine W21. Do my Postgres QL, Postgres, and the API flag. Okay. Yeah, if I was following this, I could, you know, CD into there. CD in the vaccine app. Yeah, my next command, you know, says do a Rails DB create. Now this card doesn't say anything about, you know, well, it does right here. It says create models in DB as usual. That's maybe you might want another Trello card to kind of explain what that means. But I think we've done that enough where that's good enough for me, because we've been working like the how we do models in database is not going to really change. There is a small difference with this React and Rails setup that we're going to namespace, you know, all our API calls with API. And that is also something we decided here when we planned out our API. Hey, I'm expecting, you know, our paths are /API. So we've kind of made that decision to prepend our routes with /, with API. And that's kind of, that's what this is doing. So we could go ahead and we can run this, we can do this now, create models and database as usual. Well, we spent all the time, building out doing our schema, right? Go to my schema. Actually have all of these commands ready to go. And I'd say all of you, you don't need to, if you don't want to, you don't like, this would be something we do together. Like one person does this. So you don't have to be following along if you don't want, because we can go through the next step of you cloning this down once this is all done. I think this is something that, as you're going through your hackathon, like one person could do this. Just have, because we spent so much time planning this, let's just go ahead and like build this out, these basic stuff, these basic models. And now we can do our controllers, Rails G controller, API/bugs. Rails G controller, vaccines, Rails G controller, hospitals. Okay. So if I go back to this Trello card, like, there's a lot of like, this is a brief description that there's a lot going on with these two comments. So maybe you need more than that, but I think, since we spent a lot of time planning this out, I'm kind of fine just kind of going through this a little quicker. And then we can go to our routes file. I can say, hey, I want to do this namespace API. It's not things, that's just kind of a generic term. We actually have bugs, but also inside of here, we actually are going to have nested routes with our vaccines, because this is part of the has many. The bug has many vaccines, so we're going to nest these routes in the resources, hospitals. I could do like a Rails S just really quick, just to see what those routes look like. Might be a good time to check. No, I need to do I have some migrations pending, so I need to do that. Rails DB migrate. When I didn't do my migrations, I could go check my schema. Since I did quite a bit, I might want to go check my schema, and make sure that matches my Lucidchart. So I have a bugs table that has name and description. Those are both strings. That's good. I have a hospital that's name, city, state. That's good. I have my vaccines. That's my name, efficacy, and bug ID. Cool. And there would be one thing I would need to do on my bugs model. Oh, wait, bug. This has many vaccines. ahead and do my dependent destroy here. Because if I destroy a bug, I want to destroy all its vaccines. So, and yes, I can, sorry, go back and start up my server. Refresh. That's working. I could also go look at the rel info routes. See, and here's all the paths I had to find. You know, have all my CRUD actions for my vaccines, which are those nested routes that are, I'm going to need the bug ID for all of those. I have all the ones for my bug, and I have all the routes for my hospital. Cool. Sweet, so I can go back to this card. And then, yeah, I want to kind of do the React stuff. So I can do my yarn create React app client. All right, let's see. Let's do this next step. Add our proxy. So I'm going to go to my package JSON. Add the proxy. And let's see here. Yeah, so now I should be able to like test that out, seeding the client, yarn start. Cool. So now my React app is running. I have my Rails app running. I built out all my controllers and my models. One thing I think, and this is like, you're gonna have to decide this as a group. It's because I would say at this point, we're doing like, this would be steps you could all do together as a group. What kind of things, and there's not a right or wrong answer to this, but what kind of things, what other things do you think would maybe be good to do as a group? Before you like try to start separating work.
If you're gonna do like database seeding, you probably want to do that first.
Yeah, I think seeding would be a good one. So we could create the like models. We could throw seeding inside of here. I think that'd be a good one. I think that can be good because then you can like, you can make sure like together you test all, you're testing your associations, you're testing your models, you're just kind of making sure that that's working. On the React side of things, I'll just add this as a note. I think there's, could set up React router. You could also add Axios. Stuff like that. You could maybe set up one API call. Okay, let's get one API call working with our database. Because that could be a way you're maybe checking, hey, is that set up correctly? So let's do that. Let's set up. So first of all, yeah, we could do our seeds file, seeds. So we have a bug. Let's just do b1 equals bug dot create. Ooh, another thing that you should do. There's one other thing. Add. I mean, we kind of did it with like React router, but like add gems. That you plan on using. For this, I'm not going to add any gems, but you could do your faker, you could do your prirels. And same thing with the React side, the JavaScript side of things. We're going to add a React router, we're going to add Axios. So what third-party packages are you going to add? Might as well just do that at the start so everyone has them. So let's go do our seeds file. So bugs.create and of course we have code. Okay. And then we can have a second bug. And then I can come in here and I can start creating some vaccines. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to use the bug to create my vaccine. So vaccine has a name. Pfizer and efficacy. Remember, I don't need the bug ID because I'm using a bug variable to create it. I'm just making up his names. Okay. So we got some bugs, we got some vaccines, we could do a hospital. I guess medical people call this the Death Star. I don't know. Okay. So we have some, I'm not trying to do too much, just, 2 bugs. Each bug has 2 vaccines and 2 hospitals. Can keep it simple for now. So I can do my Rails DB seed. Now I could like, I think this is a good time to do like a check to see that, you know, things are set up. So I could do like a bug.all. Cool. Could grab my bug.first.vaccines. So I could grab my bug.first, grab the vaccine, grab the first vaccine. There's the Pfizer, and I could go all the way around back to the bug. Go to a hospital. .all. So it's just enough. So I think, yeah, I really think the seeds file would be good to do together. You're all going to want it. Then you might have the same, if you hard code it, then you're going to have the same data, which I think can be nice. But I also did a couple other things because since I stepped into my console and tested it out a little, like I made sure my associations were set up correctly. So the seeds file is nice because it kind of is, it is a way to check that you set up your models correctly. Cool. And I think as far as our like backend, I think that's pretty good. Like I said, one other thing we might want to do is, you know, add some gems. Like maybe I want PryRails. By default, cool. So I think that's good for the front end. For the back, I mean, for the back end, for the front end, we could do a yarn add Axios. Add React router DOM. So now I could go set up React router DOM. Now that might be like a Trello card you could have set up. Like, oh, how do I set up React router? Go look at the Trello card, but I'm just going to do it from memory. But like I said, like this stuff, I don't expect you to have memorized. That's why you can definitely use Google, like, or like how to set up React router, because we just learned about it yesterday. So what I do is I wrap my app in this browser router component from React router DOM. And, you know, maybe I could go and in my source, just create, you know, my components folder. And I want my home.js. React from React. Home. And then I don't have to do these components, but I can like go through, I can, you know, I could build out some of my components like bugs. Like I know I'm gonna have a bugs.js. Don't have to do any of the code. I could just at least create it. I think that's, you know, maybe, you know, we also wanted like an about.js. All right, I'm trying to just copy and paste this. Command L, Command C. Out. Okay. That's good. I want to do too much. I kind of just want to get, you know, these stubbed out components so I can do a little React router. Maybe I even do a navbar component. That might be something you could do together. Just import. I'm so lazy. Okay, I'm just gonna copy this. Navbar. All right, and then even set up some of my links to home. That should probably just be a slash bugs. About. And then I need to import this link component. So yeah, I'm still kind of treating this like we're doing this as a group. So I don't know, it's kind of up, there's a trade-off because, you know, there's 4 of us. So maybe, you know, I could be doing it faster if we had split it up, but maybe it just might be nice to have, you know, where we're starting off the project on a pretty good just baseline with like our models set up, our routes set up, some basic React router pages set up. And I definitely think React router would probably be a good one to get set up as a group, just like a basic, just kind of like what we're doing now. So I can import my navbar. I can do my routes. Route. So path slash elements element. So this can go to my home. And then we can do bugs. And then about. Cool.
I think you need to import routes still.
Oop, I got routes. I don't have a route. So yeah, I need to get both of those. What else do we have here? I think I can test this out. So we got home, bugs, about. So that's working. One last thing I might want to test before I think we could like push this up and like start to separate stuff is just do like a quick little API check. So I can do like a get, yo, I'm just, you know, going to do like, this is going to go to my bugs yo method. I just want to do a test. So go to my bugs controller. Bugs controller. Why did I keep bugs? I have so many things named bug. Like all I really want to do is render JSON. Okay, just as simple as I could do it, or I could have just, you know, I could have just done like, maybe I should have not even done that. I should have just done my index method. Sorry, bug.all. Just that one's pretty simple, right? Sorry, I made that a little more complicated than it needed to be. Let's go back to my routes. Just leave that the same. So all I'm doing, let's just see if let's just get one of these working before we start building these out, just to see that like my React and Rails are able to work together. So then I could go to my like bugs.js, do my use effect. Const bugs, set bugs, we'll use state. Oh, I need my use state too. Okay, and then do my use effect. Bugs. Const git bugs. Async. Let res equal await. Axios. That's not auto importing, so I'll do that. Import Axios from Axios. Get / API / bugs. And I'm just going to log it. I really don't even need this use state. I just want to see, I'm just checking to see, can I do an Axios call? This is kind of like my last test, I would say. And then I think I could, this would be a good time to push up. So let's go to bugs, inspect. There we go. So that is one way. That is not the way to set this up. Like when you're working with a group, you know, if it's 3 or 4 of you, this you might, I would say maybe like about this amount of work or this amount of things, this would maybe be good to do together. I'd say it's maybe leaning a little more on like doing too much, but you might want to do the whole app together just in general. You might not want to try to separate work. That's fine. But I think this, you know, we kind of just as a group got everything kind of set up. You know, we have kind of those basic core components working, like our models, our routes, you know, we're able to do an Axios call. We have our, and we have our database set up. We have all the code ready to go. So I think now would be a good time to, you know, like push up to GitHub, and, you know, if you wanted to try to start separating the work. So I'll push this up to GitHub, and then you can go through the steps of cloning it down together. Oops. Wrong one. New. So I would say the amount of work we just did today, like what we did today, I think that's something, like that amount of work is something we'll allow you to do on Friday. Because that a lot of that is just kind of like, you know, that initial obnoxious setup type stuff. It's important. And I think it's important you spend some time to, you know, this can be a time, the hackathon's really a time where you can really kind of start to solidify some of these concepts. But you'll be able to probably do this much amount of work as far as coding is concerned on Friday. So then when it comes Saturday, you can really go and focus on the features. Cool. So I have my remote, I can do a git add -m. All right, what time is it? I'd say let's take a break, and when we come back, we'll clone this out and we'll kind of just get started building the features. If you want to on your own, try to clone it down, see if you can get it working. That's fine, but when you can do that, I'll throw out the link. But if you want to wait, you can do that as well. Any questions? Sweet. Come back at, we'll just call it 11:50.
Hey, James. So I noticed when I was cloning yesterday that with my node thing that I've going on, I'm still having to basically reset my yarn.lock file. It looks like there's a new node out. Should I try like updating to it? Just do like brew update or whatever. I think you're on mute.
Yeah, is it like a small version change?
It went to I don't remember what it is, like 7.2. So I think I was on like 7 point, or hang on, let me look. I was on 0.0.2, I think, and then I was on 0.2.0.
I'll try upgrading and see if that fixes it.
Okay.
Okay. Let's go ahead and let me share my screen and get started. So, a couple things to do. Number one would be cloning this down. So actually, I'm going to CD back into here. I'm going to pretend like I don't have this project I'm going to drop my database. I'm going to CD back. So let's do the steps so that like this would be, you're working together as a group. One of you have created the project, you push it up to your repo, now everyone's ready to clone. So I would need to grab the link, the SSH link. I'll throw this in Slack. Here's the command we're going to run. I'm going to close this out of VS Code before I forget. Okay. So I'm going to do a git clone. I'm going to call this I'm just going to give this a different name. Like maybe I'm going to pretend like I'm two developers. Let's go with like Mark. Mark bugs. Mark bugs me. That's a good one. So now I have two versions of this app. I had the vaccine W21 and the Mark bugs me. So I can pretend like I'm Mark in this one. So as Mark, I didn't create this project. I was working alongside. So I cloned it down. So there's a couple things I need to do. And I'm going to do this right now. I'm going to split my pane because there's things I need to do on the React side of things, and there's things I need to do on the Rails sides of things. So I'm going to have two different terminals. One's on the Rails project and one on the client. So for this, I'm going to do a bundle. That's going to install all of the Ruby stuff I need. Likewise, with the JavaScript side of thing, I run yarn. That looks at the package JSON and it goes installs all the things you need to install for this project. Bundle looks at the gem file and sees everything you need to install. Cool. So I'll let that yarn run. So going back to the Rails side of things, I need to create my database. I need to migrate my database. And I need to seed it. And then I can go ahead and start up my server. And I need to start up my React project. Cool. So now, now as Mark, I'm, up to date. I should see, yeah, if I go to my bugs, I should see the Axios call. I have the about. So I have this all set up like where, we were as a group. So cloning is pretty simple. Just have to clone it, run bundle and, yarn in your client. create your database, migrate your database, seed it, and then start up your servers, and then you're kind of good to go. Also need to open this up in code. So yeah, now I think would be a good time where we could start to break up some work. And we could have done this before we started, cloning, but this is where we can use Trello. And we can kind of start to think about what we need to do. And there's a lot of different ways to break this up, but there's kind of some natural, I think, places where we can break this up. First of all, there's like the front end and back end. And then there's like our models, the things we're doing CRUD on. So that in and of itself, I can start to break up things like that ways. For example, I could do back end CRUD actions on bugs. I could do back end CRUD actions on vaccines. I could do backend CRUD actions on hospitals. I could do front end, I'll just say bugs. We'll just front end. So someone could do the bugs on the front end. Someone could do the vaccines feature. And front end, hospitals. I really think like if I had 6 developers, I think these could kind of be worked at the same time. Maybe doing that initial setup, that might have been a little harder to separate, but I think since we got it to this state, I think now it's a little easier to separate to break this up into chunks and assign this work to different people. So let's go ahead and start. So I'm just going to pretend like I'm Mark. And I'm going to pretend like I'm doing this. And then at the same time, maybe this is the backend CRUD actions that's like on deck. So I think one of the things that was asked, and this totally makes sense to me as a question, is like, well, how are we going to do the bugs if our backend is not working? Like, how do we start the front end on this? But something I do have and something we discussed, as a team, is we have kind of our API defined, how it's going to work, how we expect it to be used. And we're just following standard CRUD actions. I mean, we're doing something a little different where we append our routes with API, but other than that, it's really standard. So as a front-end developer, I know that eventually these paths are going to be working. So I'm just going to code like they are. These are the paths I'm going to use, and I'm going to set them up. Now I need to be a little tricky, like, and this is something you don't have to do. Maybe on the hackathon, you just want to get your back end all set up so you don't have to do this. But I kind of want to show you this, like, how could I start to work on these without, without having my back end done. So first of all, there are some things I could do just with like my UI. So if I'm working on the bugs front end, and I could, then I could go build out my pages. So that's one thing I could do. Like, I know looking at my wireframes, I'm going to have like a form to both edit and create a new bug, and then I'm going to have a list of bugs. So I can kind of start building out these. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to go to my bugs.js file. And I know this one's working, but let's assume it's not. So how could I break this? I'm just gonna, well, let's do this. This is a little weird. What I'm gonna do to my controller, my bugs controller. Let's just comment that out. It's kind of a weird thing. I just kind of want to show you, okay, so now this is not gonna work, right? Because I don't have, the index method is not defined. I just commented it out. So this is gonna break. So if I go back to localhost 3000, inspect, go to bugs. I'm getting a 404 because my index method's not defined. But once again, I know what this API call should return, or close to what it should return. So what I can do is I can just come up here, make an array dummy bugs. Right? A bug is just going to be something that has an ID. Should be a number. It'll have a name. Dummy bug 1. And then it has a description. And this is going to be an array of multiple of these. So I'm just coming up here. I make a dummy array of bugs because I don't have actual data, but I can make some in JavaScript. That's fake data. Let's do my use state. Watch, I'm just going to kind of set this up like I normally would. Const bugs set bugs equals use state. Well, by default, by my initial state, that's going to be an empty array. I can do my try catch block here. I can do my alert error occurred or something, let's say to do error by, I don't know. But for now, I can just, if I have an error, I'll just alert. So let's go test this out. So I need to like reorganize these. Okay. So now I refresh, I get my error. Because I'm getting my 404 because my back end is not working. But what I can, I could do my error handling. Like maybe I don't want to do this alert, I could go in and I could do my error handling. So that's work I can do on the front end. What else I could do is I could, comment this out, leave a note, hey, uncomment when backend working. Right, don't write here. Don't I want to set bugs to res.data? That's what I'm going to want to do, right? Because I know from how we decided when we were talking about our API, that's how the date, like that's going to be the array of bugs. So that's what I want to set it to. Now that's not going to work right now. But here's a little trick. What I can do is in my catch, I've tested this out. So like I know my alert's working. But what I can do for now is I can set my bugs to dummy bugs. So this is going to trigger an error. And then I can leave a message like, you know, get rid of when backend is working. But for now, I'm going to, because this is not going to work. This is going to cause a 404 because my backend's not working. So it's going to throw the error. But when I catch it, I'm just going to set bugs to this dummy data I made. So then I get rid of that alert. I hit refresh. I get the 404. That's fine. I'm expecting that. But now I have my bugs. And now I can go ahead and do my render bugs function. Let's render bugs. Turn bugs.map. Go through each bug. Just turn this right here. Bug.name. And bug.description. Could also do a little style right here. Just because I like to, you know, do some borders. 4 pixels solid. Red's going to be an option. Let's do green. Bug is not defined. So I'm using bug here, but I called it B there. So I need to change one or the other. Let's just change this to bug. And there we go. Dummy bug 1, description 1, dummy bug 2, description 2. Let me just show you this. Let's say we want to do our delete. So I'll put a button on here. Delete. On click equals, you know, delete bug.id. Or we'll call this, delete bug. Bug.id. Let's write that delete bug function const delete bug. This is going to be async because this is going to be an Axios call. So let's do our try catch error. This should take in an ID. So here we can do our Axios call, let response, or we can just do our await Axios.delete for the API/bugs, and then pass it the ID of the bug, which we got in the function. Sweet, so we remove from DB, from UI. So I can do a set bugs Go through my bugs, just kind of do my standard CRUD actions filter. Go through each bug. Does the bug.id, as long as it doesn't equal the ID that was passed to me into this function, keep it, because that wasn't the one that was deleted. And then here I can do like an alert. Like error occurred. Deleting bug. So I can hit delete. Error occurred deleting bug. Right, that's a 404. So if I look at my server, I'm gonna get rid of this window. Where is the error? There it is. The action destroy could not be found. Right, because I haven't, my backend's not done. It's not even really started. So it's not actually going to delete from the database. But by looking at the server, it's going to the right spot. It's like the action destroy could not be found for the bugs controller. Like it's hitting the right method. But yeah, it's just not done. But what I could do, once again, I could be like, okay, I did my error handling. I could say like, comment on backend working, just, reminder. But then I could test my, hey, well, can I actually remove it from my UI? Because maybe I'm not sure if that works. But let's test it out. It's not deleting it from the database, but it is deleting it from the UI. Does this make sense how like I'm going through and like doing all these actions? Like I'm getting all of this work done, even though I don't have a back end. Let's just like build out like just a demo. Like let's say like the back end for just those two methods does get done. Just do that really quick. How much work do I have to do here? Well, I'll just, get rid of that, uncomment that out. Once again, get rid of that. See now I refresh, there's my bugs from my database, I delete. It's actually, wait, did that not delete it? Did I get an error there? Looks like I got an error. Destroy. Let's see. Sorry, let me try that again. Flu delete. But if I hit refresh, that's not actually deleting. Axios dot await. Await Axios
Your
delete.
database, you never told it to delete.
Oh, you're right. I didn't. You're right. In here, I found it, but I forgot to say destroy.
I had this same exact issue last night.
Yeah, that's an important part. You need to actually destroy it. But now that that's done, I can destroy it. A refresh, it's done. We'll just comment those back out though, just because we'll worry about doing this later. I kind of like the point here is, I can just, it can do my try catch, and in my errors, I can use some dummy data and just kind of pretend like it's working, even though it's not actually working. But if I'm following like this, like since we decided on those standard CRUD actions, those standard routes, like I know what the routes are going to be on my front end. And like, yeah, if I was really confident, like I wouldn't even need to like test it out. I think that's a good thing I can do, just like as a sanity check, make sure it's actually working in my catch. And then I'll just, once it is working, then I'll just delete those. Cool. So let's keep going. Let's do a let's do a link, because we want to do a new page or an edit. So let's do a link component to, now we haven't defined this one yet in our apps. So if I want to go to a edit page on my React app, what do you think the route should be? There's one thing I have to have. What do I need to have?
Slash API.
So yeah, I don't remember. This is, I'm doing a link. This is a React router thing. So it's not, I think this is why it's nice to have that API flag. One of the nice reasons, because it kind of distinguishes like what's going to our backend and what is a React route. So this is a React route. We don't need a slash API. This is just on the front end. So we need that. I heard it. Someone said we need an ID. But something I'm going to do, I'm just going to kind of follow like what would a traditional like edit link look like? Will it be the name of the model, bugs, and then the ID, and then edit? I don't have to do this, and this isn't like, this has nothing to do with Rails. I think that's just, I think, and to me, that's like, oh, this is going to like an edit link for a bug. I'm editing a particular bug. And where I define this is in my app.js. So I'm going to do like a bugs :ID edit. Then we need to make a component for this. So we do a new component, new file. New file, let's do a bug form.js. I'm just going to copy one of these components and throw it in there. Bug. One thing I probably do want to test just right off the bat is, can I get that ID? So I'm going to grab this use params hook. And then let's do a paragraph here. So let's talk about this params for a second. So this is just a React router thing. I'm getting the params. This is how I can go get params in the URL. I can also send them through components. But if I look at my app.js, I'm defining a param called ID right here. If I called this X, it would be params X. But I'm going to call this ID. And then in my bug form, it's going to be able to pull that off. It's going to say, oh, there's that ID param. Let's go grab that. And in my bugs, where I do the link, that's where I'm putting the actual ID of the bug. And then in my app.js, now I can use that bug form component that I just created. So hey, if you get a route that matches this like signature with the bugs and then anything /edit, go to the bug form component. In the bug form component, hey, let's use this use params hook. And then in that params object, there's going to be that ID from the URL. Link is not defined. I keep on getting errors. Okay, so let's do this. Oh, I think I have an alert. I want to get rid of this alert because that is going to run every time. Refresh. Link. Oh yeah, link is not defined. So in my bugs, let's make sure I import that. I'm sometimes lazy and just like to like backspace and auto import it. So import link from React Router DOM. So I'm back to my dummy bugs because I went back to that method. And now if I click edit, I go to my bug form, the ID is 1, which is good because that's matching that ID there. I go back, if I click on edit on 2, that's my bug form, ID is 2. In my app.js, I also might want to create a path for, new. That is also going to work. So this is also going to take me to the bug form, but it's not going to give it that ID. So now in my bug form, I can do something like this. I can do like in this header, I can check to see, hey, do I have the ID? I do. Let's say like update. Not, we'll say. And then they both can after say bug form. So it's either going to say update bug form or new bug form. Because in my bugs.js, before I render my bugs, I probably want to also have like a bug, or I could do a link to bug/new. So that's going to match the bug/new, which it's not going to get the ID. So when that bug form renders, it's not going to have the ID. So I'll say new. So I can go back to my bugs. I can go to my new bug. No, okay. So now I'm getting this error. No route match location bugs new. This is not quite, this is like a 404 on my React side. It's not like, it's not doing something on the back end. It's just in my app.js, I don't have a bug/new. So what's going on here? This is a little, this one can kind of get you. So what I did in this is in my bugs.js, I forgot to start this with a backslash. If I don't have the backslash, what it's going to do is it's going to append, because right now the the path there is /bugs. If I don't have the backslash, it's just going to append that to what's already there. So that's why I'm getting bugs/new. So if I put the backslash there, it's just going to kind of use this whole thing. It's not going to pay attention to what's there. So now I can do new bug, and there we go. That says new bug form. Obviously, it doesn't have an ID. Go back to bugs, go to edit. That says update bug form. Cool. So now I've kind of got this working. If I was looking at my Figma, I've kind of got this working where it's like, okay, I'm kind of setting up these like pages where, I can render my bugs. I can click new bug. That takes me to a new form. I can click edit bug. That takes me to my edit form. So I'm using this as my guideline. And I have that working now. Now comes the part where I just need to actually do the work. Now, one thing that's nice about separating this onto a different page, because remember, every time I go back to my bugs form, it's going to do the Axios call to load the bugs. So let's do this. I'm going to go to my bug form and I'm going to create this form. Submit and submit. So do we have a name. We have a description. I can just do my standard stuff that I do with forms, use state. Const name, set name. Just set this to an empty string, and we'll do the same thing with description. Value equals name. Change equals, and then we'll just do our function here, set name, e.target value. Do the same thing, I just copy this, throw this in my input for description. Do a button. So again, I could check to see if I have a params ID. I'll say update. If I do, say like create. So now I can do my handle submit form. My event, do an e.prevent default. Prevent default. Once again, I can use my params ID. So if I have an ID, we can do our put. Something like this. We can do our wait. I'm going to make this async. COS.put /API/bugs, and then the ID of the bug, which would be params ID. Here, maybe before I do this, I can create my bug object description. I don't want to send that here with my put request. If not, I'm going to do a post. So if I don't have an ID, then it's just a post request to API bugs. In this case, what do I want to do when I'm done creating a bug? In this specific use case, this isn't always the case, but if I look at my UI, like my Figma, after I create a bug, what do you think I want to have happen? Or if I edit a bug?
Back
Get
to
back to the
bugs page.
Yeah. I'm gonna want to have like React Router navigate us back to the page. Now these are not going to work, right? Because those are not defined. So I could wrap both of these in a try catch. Do this one in a try catch error. So for now, I know these are going to fail, but I can at least, I can try to get the navigation part working. So that's was from yesterday that I was using navigate. And to do this one, it was, I use this use navigate hook. I can create a navigate object. Let me give you a little quiz right here. Do I have to call this params? Do I have to call this navigate? Yeah, no, I do not. Do I have to call this name and do I have to call this description? Yeah, that I do. I think that can always be a fun game to quiz yourself. Like, do I have to call these things? Kind of ask yourself that question a lot. I think that can really help you learn to read code. Yeah, this I can call anything. These are just variables. Cool. But so we just end up calling them params and navigate because that's like the best word to describe what it is. So both of these I can navigate. Just back to bugs. I'm going to do this in the catch. That's probably not where I want to do that normally, but I just want to see if it's working. So when I have a URL that's appended with API, I know that's hitting my Rails server. When I have a URL that's just, doesn't have the API, I know that's related to React Router. So I think that's like I said, I think that's a good benefit. Another good benefit we get with using the API. It makes the distinction between the two routes. So let's see if this is kind of working. So I can go to my new bug. I mean, this obviously is not going to work as far as saving it to the database, but I should hit create. That takes me back to my bugs page. Now, I don't expect that to be on here because I go back to my bugs page. And I'm not going, and this time I'm not going to worry about creating a function that adds it to the UI, because how it should get added is when this component reloads, it's going to do another Axios call. And then it should get that extra bug that it just picked up. I could look at my server. Where is my error? To my bug form. I just want to find that it could not match that route. Where is it? Well, actually, it's a different one, I believe. There's my index one. I think I'm actually getting the, this one's a little harder to see, but I think the error we're getting here, it's not, because I can't see the can't find action create. But I think what might be happening is we're getting that token error. So let's go ahead. But I guess, you know, that's really, since I'm doing the front end, that's not really my concern right now. But this one's a little harder to test. But I mean, I can still keep on trying, like chugging along on the front end. I go to, like, for instance, I go to update bug. And one thing I can definitely fix here is let's have these fields pre-populated. So that's something I can do on my UI. Let's try it, because normally what we would do is we would do an Axios call. Let's do this. Let's try to do this a different way. I'm gonna have to Google this, but let's send data to component React router. Because if you think about it, let's go back to our bugs. I'm going to the edit page. Like, why do I need to do an Axios call? I have that information right here. Like, why do I need to do a whole nother Axios call to get that information that I have? So I always forget.
API.
What?
Because you're going to a separate page, not within the API. Like you need
No,
to,
I am going to, like, but remember, this is like a single, like if I go to, yeah, I still have this information right here, right? So why, like what I'm asking is like, why can't I just, like I have the data, why can't I just get the data from the front end?
This might be like more than we want to think about right now, but like if you're thinking production, like website or something, wouldn't you kind of want to do a call just in case somebody else had changed stuff in between you viewing one page and then you go into update?
That's a valid concern. Yeah, I think normally that would be the case, but also at the same time, like how, if you didn't care about that, how would you do it? So but I think what you're saying, that is like that is definitely like the safer way to do it. And generally also the other thing is, if we have like this show page, there's, in all reality, you're probably going to be getting more, like there's going to be more data that's going to be need to get got. Like maybe on the show, like on the index page, it's just showing the name and the description. But then when we actually go to view it, then there's like, you know, 5, 6, 7 other things. But this is also just for the edit. So for this, I think that is like a case, like we don't probably like need to get it, but let's just see how we can pass some data through React Router, because that's something you might want to do. And it's something you can do. I just always forget how to do it. And it might be different with React Router version 6, but okay. So this is a type of thing, and I think who was asking this, Dennis. It's like, how much of this is like an open book or like copy and pasting code? I think it's a lot more important to know like what you can do than memorizing it. Like if you can memorize, or if you can like remember, oh yeah, there's ways to pass information to another component via React Router. I just forget the syntax of it. If you can like remember those things, I think that's going to help you out a lot. And then when you like need to figure out the specific syntax, then you can Google it. So yeah, what in this little example, and I could have Googled this, but it looks like in our link, instead of just going to a specific, giving it a string, I can give it a object with the path name. And then I can, well, that's funny. This is using bug. This is like actually what we want to do. Exactly. That's a coincidence. But then I can take the bug and then I can send it that data, or I could send it like some X data. That would be the value yo. And then I can use a use location hook to grab that data, to grab those keys. So I could get, you know, my bug key and my X key from the use location hook. So if I go put that into code in my link, I'm going to have that. I'm going to, instead of just this being a string, I'm going to have it be an object. So this is going to be the path name. And then I can send the bug. Could also send, yeah, like in the other example, I was sending some other data. Because when I when I click on this link, maybe I want to send some data to that page, and this is how I can do it. I can just add key value pairs. I still need to give it the path name to match that path, but now it's going to be getting this data. So then in my bug form, I can grab the use location hook, and then I can do const bug and y equals use location. Does this need to be named bug and y? those ones do, because this is object destructuring. So those need to match what I called them here. I called this is the key bug, the value is bug. This is the key Y, the value is 1. So those ones do need to be named exactly those things. But now I'm probably going to run into an issue because now I'm declaring this variable bug twice. So I'm probably going to rename this one. Let's call this bug data. Now I can see, hey, do I have a bug? So this is setting my initial state. Was this form given a bug? Any bug data? If it was, let's use the bug.name. If not, use the empty string, because that would be for the new form. And likewise with the description. Was this given a bug? If so, use the description. If not, use an empty string. So now let's go back to my React app. Here's another issue with doing it this way. So I hit refresh because I'm on my update form. This is never going to work because I'm on this form. I actually have to pass the props through this page. Like I have to do it on my bugs page because the edit button is where the data is. That's still not working, but let's see here. Let's do this. I'm going to console.log bug here. I wonder if this is like, if they've changed how it works in version 6. That's undefined. I'm going to do this. See what that object looks like, X. I'm just doing some debugging. I want to see what this use location hook is returning because I'm not seeing this bug in there. So I'm just going to set it to a variable X and just console.log it. I just want to inspect and see what that data structure looks like. There it is. It has the path name, it has the search, it has the hash. So it is an object, it just doesn't have those keys on it. Dang it. Okay, let's go back to my bugs. Let's see if it's on params. I think this is a new. I'm going to console.log params. Let's go bugs, edit. Nope, it's not getting past there. State, can I pass it through state? Okay, I'm gonna try one more thing and then I'm gonna go to Google. Okay. So React router version 6 pass. Let's see if they'll use location. Use location. Man, okay. It's almost one, dang it. Okay, so I need to do some more Googling past data component React router. This is going to get challenging because I'm pretty sure this is how you do it in version 5. I mean, minus this state. So it seems like they've changed this. Can we do it with nav? Maybe we can do it with navigate. Let's do this past data via link component. Yeah, I guess I'm gonna need to Google this. 'Cause this is gonna be maybe hard to find the version 6 way to do this. That's, do that. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna just leave it here. We're gonna spend some more time on this lecture for sure tomorrow. But I would say if this was like the hackathon or something else, and you get stuck on like you're trying to do it a new way, like I am right now, I might just, I know I could get this to work with using my params ID and just doing an Axios call to grab that bug. But I know there's a way, there's got to be a way to just send the data through this link. It's just changed how they've done that. So I'll stick with it, but maybe I'll figure it out before lunch and then we'll go over it then. But does anyone have any questions? I'm gonna still push this up to GitHub. Anything? If you want to, you can hop off for lunch. I'm gonna continue on trying to figure this out. This stuff always, I don't know. I hate when I can't figure this stuff out. So you can stick on if you want, or you can go back to lunch. Let's meet back at, let's just call it 1 o'clock, or sorry, 2 o'clock. And I'll go over what I did to fix this if I can figure it out before lunch. But let me know if you have any questions.
Hey, James, I don't want to derail you from your search too much, but I tried to update Node and I was kind of running into issues, and I kind of did more digging around, and I do have 2 versions of Node in 2 different paths, which I think is probably part of my problem.
Yeah, so do you have like like you have 16 and 17 installed?
I have like, now I probably have a 16, a 17.0.2 and a 17.2.0 probably. And it's like I can get things to upgrade to like the 17.2.0 or the 16.13 or whatever. But as soon as I run yarn, then it like redirects it to the 17.0.2.
Yeah. No, yeah, that's your, because you do have, I know you have them both installed, but yeah, for some reason when it's looking at your paths and whatever, like your route, it's like, yeah, it does take it to the 17. Which I don't know why. Because usually those types of things, that's like in the like the ZSHRC file and the ZSHENV file. Maybe do you have a bash RC file? Like a,
Let me see, it'd probably be my root, huh?
yeah. It's like I think it's like a bash underscore. It's like a dot bash underscore profile.
Yeah, I'm just gonna go see what's in my root right now.
You can share your screen too if you want.
I have a .bash dot profile.
Yeah, let's look at that. You open that up in like code.
Let's see, code, what was it? .bash dot profile.
Yeah. Or it's it's a .bash profile. Wait, what? Was that a folder?
I was able to open it.
Oh yeah, okay. So what does it have anything in there?
Yeah. Sorry, I gotta change my windows here. I'll blow it up so you can actually see it.
Export path. Yeah. User local bin, user local this. I wonder if we just comment that out.
Try it.
Yeah.
And probably have to restart my iTerm, huh?
Yeah. I just don't know if you have other stuff relying on that.
The only thing that, so when I set things up, I don't know. If I do, I think it would just be like, I don't even remember. It might have been like my setup, my my terminal appearance or whatever, but I don't remember. That was a long time ago.
Yeah.
But okay, let's see. So yes, grabbing 17.0.1.
Let's see here.
I know, like if I do the installer directly from the website, then it tries to install it to like user local bin node. But I think I could redirect it. Which node dash A or dash A node probably. You know, I can probably redirect it to like the /opt/homebrew or whatever.
Yeah, because which one's your 16?
I think my 16 is probably my homebrew/bin/node, but that's kind of a guess because if I do just like which node, I assume it's grabbing the one that's running. Oh, that's actually running. So it's got to be, my 16's got to be in the user local bin node.
So I wonder if you just delete the one that's 17, just remove that.
Okay, so I probably need to like try to navigate to there, huh?
Is that the real, I mean, that might be, if you do a CD, just CD slash, CD space slash, and then can you like do an LS here? Like this is, do you have the use?
I have a USR on the end here.
Yeah,
So I can
so
blast.
that's giving you the absolute path. So that's, you could copy that CD into that. You need that first backslash though.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're in this directory, so I guess you don't hear, but
Okay. Okay, so just CD into it.
yeah.
Yeah.
See if you can CD. So CD into user. Let's see how far we can go. Like, can you go into local? And then bin. Do an LS here.
So there's a node.
I don't know what the red is. I wonder if that's like a. So do an ls-la. Um,
I wish I knew which version that was. I think that might be the 16.13.
yeah, I'm not sure. I'm wondering because you see the one. Let me see if let me look at mine. That would be a good way. So,
Okay.
yeah, I don't have I think the homebrew one is because when I do mine, when I do which node, I don't have the homebrew.
Oh, you don't have homebrew? Yeah, okay. So I think that's the one we need to get rid of. So I guess CD out of here. CD into the homebrew. Got a node in there. Should I just remove it?
Can you, is that a CD into it? Is that like a directory or?
I don't know if I can CD into it or not. Not a directory.
Just wondering what, because you also have like npm and npx in there. Why, like, if you do a brew uninstall node, just do that right here.
I gotta do yarn first.
And now do an ls.
Yeah, it says it's gone.
It's gone. I wonder what to do. So yarn's gone. Where is
The
I
package-
want to look at mine. What is that? Where is that option homebrew? That's weird. I'm, I don't even have that folder. I don't have the homebrew folder.
I'm wondering if it's maybe like how I had to install Homebrew because I'm on an M1.
Oh, you're on, okay. So that would make sense. That I know homebrew does, it's way different on the M1.
Yeah. I guess
yeah,
that's why I'm wondering if I need to like put the 17.2 in here and just get rid of my other path. Because like when I take it out of, when I uninstalled Node from in here, then it like, I mean, it redirects it back to the 17.2, which is I assume living in that user local bin node. But then as soon as I run yarn, then it redirects it back to here and installs 17.1 or 17.0.1 or whatever.
yeah, so it's just reinstalling it.
Yeah.
Yeah, just want to know. Yeah, I'm not sure. Let's uninstalling 17.01. Trying to think where like where's the dependency coming from? Because somewhere it's saying, hey, you need 17.01.
Right.
Where's that? Maybe I'll have, I'm getting the M1 chip in like a couple weeks.
Okay.
It's hard, because like I can look at like my computer and be like, oh, you have these folders, but it's like, oh wait, no, it's like the M1's a pretty big change.
Right. No, it's fine. I was just trying to figure it out because yeah, like I said, every time I like clone down, or even like the other day I went out of a project, like closed it out and then went back in and I had to like delete the yarn lock and rerun yarn just to get it to like start the server.
Okay.
You know, I was just hoping to figure it out, but I can hold off. I mean, this works for now. It's just kind of a pain in the ass.
Yeah, I know that is a pain in the ass to have to like reinstall yarn all the time.
Yeah. See, I'm just curious if I run yarn or brew install yarn, that's gonna jump me back to the. Yeah, see, as soon as I do it, it downloads homebrew core node manifest 17.0.1-1.
So wait, do an LS. So is node back in there? Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, so remove it. Remove yarn. Like brew uninstall yarn.
Oh yeah, yeah, okay.
And then do a brew uninstall node. What if you do a like npm install space install -g yarn. Now if you do now do an ls, see if did that install node. Okay, now if you do an ls, or like do like a node -v.
So that's kind of at the 17.2. I assume I have yarn still. Yeah, maybe that worked.
So now you don't have 17.1, 17.0.
So
that
hopefully,
might, if you do the npm, like maybe if we can like uninstall node and just don't install it with, and don't install yarn with brew, but install it with npm, it won't automatically download that node version.
yeah, apparently. Okay, well, shoot, we'll give this a try.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
yeah.